Everybody's talking about Greenland right now. Trump wants it.
We need Greenland for national security.
Denmark wants to keep it.
Bliver sammen, og vi går sammen.
And scientists are busy studying it to better understand how truly f***ed we all really are. My money's on very. I'm here in Kangerlussuaq with the Russell Glacier behind me, spending the next week traveling around Western Greenland, and I'm going to show you the country beyond the headlines, the food, the landscapes, and most importantly, the people who actually live here. Oh hey, hi there! In case you're new to the channel, my name's Joe Baur. I'm an American immigrant who's been living in Europe for the past 10 years and traveling around the world even longer. In this video, I'm taking you with me to the world's largest island. So, without further ado, let's start with a comically truncated history of Greenland. Humans first arrived on today's Greenland around 2000 BCE. Ancestors of today's Inuit arrived between the year 1000 and 1400. That's around the same time the Norse first showed up by way of Eric the Red, a late 10th century Viking who's credited with naming his settlement Greenland to help lure people to the island. Think of it as a kind of Viking marketing. Are you a fellow Viking with a lust for adventure? Come to Greenland! It's largely unoccupied. No raping or pillaging required. The colonial period began in 1721 with the arrival of a Norwegian priest on behalf of the United Danish-Norwegian Crown. Denmark kept Greenland after the two Scandinavian kingdoms split and began a colonial policy that more or less lasted until 1953 when the United Nations pushed Denmark to decolonize Greenland, which achieved home rule in 1979 and self-rule in 2009, leaving the door open to independence from Denmark. But the recent orange elephant in the room has reopened a saga over a century in the making when the United States first started pushing to absorb Greenland.
War's dramatic action reaches the far north as Coast Guardsmen blast their way through ice floes off Greenland in an attempt to break up establishment of Nazi bases.
With the German occupation of Denmark in World War II, Uncle Sam went ahead and occupied Greenland to prevent the Nazis from using it as a base to attack North America. And it's at one of those American-built bases that my week in Greenland begins. Welcome to Kangerlussuaq. Founded by the US Air Force in 1941, roughly 400 people live here today, mostly Danish military personnel. But tourism has been developing with companies like Albatross Arctic Circle taking travelers along the coast of the world's largest island. To acclimate to the -22 cold, we head out for a tundra safari. We just pulled over to take some photos and video of some reindeer. They've got wild reindeer running around here. This landscape is unreal. Like it's bizarre to be here. Never in my wildest imagination would I think that I'd be in Greenland. Guides around here jokingly call Kangerlussuaq an American town, but the US all but left the area following the fall of the Soviet Union. The US basically donated a lot of the infrastructure that they built here during the war back to the community. They sold it for $1, so not everything we did here was terrible. Despite all the bluster on the news, Greenland on the ground feels blissfully removed from the garbage fire that is global politics and conflict today. You really look out at some of this stuff and you can imagine that no human's been here before. After spending the afternoon in Kangerlussuaq, we hop on another flight for a short 50-minute or so jump over to Ilulissat, Greenland's third largest city and a popular hub for adventure travelers. Had to pop outside really quick and look at the sunset because this landscape is just absolutely unreal. But fun fact, it's also unreal to look at inside where it's not freezing cold. So I'm gonna go back now. Our first full day on the island takes us out onto the icy sea for an hour-long journey to admire Ilulissat's namesake, the Icefjord. So we are sailing out to a fjord right now. The landscape out here is just otherworldly. I feel like I'm in a National Geographic documentary. It's actually not even that cold. Granted, we can pop in and warm up whenever we want, grab a coffee, a tea. It's quite a lovely way to do it. I can only imagine what some of the early explorers would have thought of this kind of travel, you know, getting to see this landscape, roughing it for like a good 10 seconds, maybe a minute, then cozying up back inside. The only thing truly struggling out here is the Icefjord itself. The Arctic just experienced its warmest year on record, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, also known as NOAA, as in what you'd scream into your pillow when you realize the world isn't doing enough about climate change. The heating Arctic is something we got a taste of during our Kahunkiros run in Finland last summer. This is why scientists are rushing to Greenland. The country's ice sheet and rapidly melting glaciers might be pushing the Atlantic Ocean to a critical climate tipping point, which we'll talk about more when we actually hike on the ice sheet itself in a couple of days. Today we head to Oqaatsut, a settlement of roughly 30 inhabitants further up the sea past yesterday's ice fjord. So we're just about into the town, but we're waiting for a fisherman boat to go by, and they're having to break up the ice. All these boats are equipped with the right stuff that you need to break through the ice. So it's a lot of kind of herking and jerking back and forth, and then we can finish our little ice schlep into the settlement. During some of the worst chapters of colonization, Denmark tried to move Greenlanders out of settlements like these into more established towns or cities, both on the island or in the kingdom. But now, both Greenland and Denmark are invested in keeping these remote communities alive. The aforementioned Albatross is part of that effort, bringing tourists in to go snowshoeing, dog sledding, or ice fishing, before warming up at their H8 restaurant, named after the rooftop marking made by American military during the war to help identify buildings from the sky throughout the region. Not much grows here, so it is a traditionally meaty culture. Not a historically great place to be a seal or a whale. But vegetarians are more than accommodated with a delicious bean and lentil stew topped with mushrooms and pickled onions that could easily grace the cover of a cookbook.
We are going on a walk with the Blue Road. We are here. We will stop here and go back the same way.
This is Sermermiut, a UNESCO World Heritage Valley with over 4,000 years of Inuit history. While walking, our guide Henny offers a little insight into traditional Greenlandic life.
The women took care of the children, and of course the food, the house, and sewing clothing and making food.
Alright, so we've just been marching down this boardwalk. It's the same area we went on the first night to see the northern lights. It's cold, but we're hanging in there. Moving is the best way to stay warm, so I was happy to do so by staying at the front and chatting with Henny. But I was just talking with Henny, our guide, and she had some very interesting things to say and thoughts about the whole mishigas with Trump in Greenland. They were calling him the Orange Man, that he is a big crybaby who is gonna throw a tantrum when he can't get what he wants. And the Greenlandic people are tough, they have to adapt to nature, and they're not afraid of him, and they're gonna adapt. She said if you would ever want to come here, you know, put up your dukes. She's ready to go. But Henny is adamant that the true heart and soul of Greenland goes way beyond the international headlines.
Under the headlines, we have the people who lives in Greenland and kind of survives the harsh winters and very, very hard summers, because some of the summers can be hard because of the sun and the dryness, and we don't have a lot of food of the fish, and it's just the closeness that we have and help each other out, being warm to each other, being like very, as I said, close. That's very important to me and our culture.
Speaking of culture, Henny says it's important to take what they've learned from their ancestors, how to hunt, how to provide, and pass that on to the next generation. But there's something she'd really like foreigners to keep in mind. What would you like people to know about Greenland that they're not hearing about in the news? Because, you know, we only just see the headlines, you know, as you said, the Orange Man wanting to get his hands on here and being a little bit of a crybaby. So what's something that you wish people knew about Greenland that they're not getting from the news?
The Orange Man is a big subject, as I said before, but I think it's the most important thing that to remember, we are humans. I know we look different, we have different traditions, but it's also important to know that we're only human. We have feelings. We live here. We live by nature. I know Greenland, there's a lot of important people that are talking about Greenland, about the minerals, about the stuff that we have underground, but we are keeping them underground to survive up here.
Roads are sparse on Greenland. Sled dogs have long been the traditional means of transportation. Greenlandic law restricts sled dogs to areas north of the Arctic Circle and the East Coast. So Nevi, who grew up south of the Arctic Circle in Nuuk, found herself in the strange position of learning about her culture from a German traveler. This emboldened her to move her family to Ilulissat and begin the project of reclaiming her culture, leading to her now extended family of 70-some dogs.
When you travel to Greenland, often you are warned about the aggressive sled dog, the working animal, definitely not a pet. My dogs are trained from the day they are born to be socialized and to trust people, and that's the most important thing.
The wind was frigid, some of the worst cold any of us had ever felt. But before scrambling for shelter, I asked Nivi if there was a specific moment where she felt like she had officially reclaimed her culture.
First time I took 6 dogs out, driving out here alone, I had the biggest feeling of freedom I've ever felt. And I felt my ancestors were there on the sled with me.
Neil from our Kangerlussuaq safari picks us up again for a drive out along the ice road to reach Russell Glacier.
I moved here from Copenhagen a few years ago, and it is the raw beauty that simply just, it's magnetic. It allows me to think clearly and plan my next move. That is the reason why I'm coming back here every season.
There it is, Russell Glacier. Standing at the foot of the Greenlandic ice sheet, 60 meters tall, staring at this towering wall of ice helps me understand the scale of these natural wonders, and the importance of protecting them in the face of climate change. I imagine it's a bit like when astronauts see Earth from space for the first time. You realize how small and insignificant we all are. It puts the silly antics of the petulant orange man into an even sharper perspective. This is the actual story. We're just making a little pit stop on our way to the ice cap to admire this view of the Reindeer Glacier, which is just a little bit past the Russell Glacier that we visited yesterday, and it's aptly named because we've been seeing some reindeer along the way. I think this is one of the special things about traveling in Greenland right now is you can still get a sense of what that exploratory mindset and experience must have been like in, the 1900s, 1800s. But you still get, some of those modern comforts like a warm vehicle that's gonna take us there and warm us up before, sometimes during, and definitely after one of the daily adventures. And you still have, for the most part, that raw, untouched landscape that is frankly unlike anything I've seen anywhere else. The high desert plateau in Nepal comes close, but I don't know, there's just no people here. So it's definitely unique as far as all the travels I've gone on. All right, sports fans, we are here getting our crampons on, grabbing our hiking sticks, and we're gonna get on the move. Oh, and it's cold.
That's what we call the ice cap. That is the second largest ice cap in the world. From here to the east coast, we have approximately 600 kilometers of ice. The average thickness of the ice is 2,000 meters. From north to south, has approximately 2,100, 2,200 kilometers of ice. That is from the top of Denmark to way down in Spain. That is a lot of ice.
Klaus here is our guide for the day. He's been coming out here since 2019, and even within that 7-year time frame, he's seen how climate change and a heating planet have impacted the ice cap.
That is the lowest point between the ice and the rain right now. In 2019 that was. So yeah, something is happening.
The University Cooperation for Atmospheric Research estimates that Greenland is currently losing 234 billion tons of ice per year. And all that melted water has to go somewhere. And according to NOAA, the Greenland ice sheet has been continually losing ice year over year for more than a quarter century. The data is depressing, but it's important to keep in mind, because although this looks awfully cold and icy, as it should, it's not in a particularly healthy state. It's kind of like when you bump into somebody on the street and they ask, "Hey, how's it going?" And you lie your ass off and say you're doing just fine, because nobody wants to watch a grown man have a psychotic meltdown and slip slowly into madness because the world's on fire and all this ass clown can do is talk about his goddamn ballroom like a baby that's just dropped a massive load in his diaper and is weirdly proud of the mess he's made. Sorry, I blacked out. Back to the hike. Just casually walking over a lake, no big deal. With the day's adventure nearing its end, Klaus stops us for a moment of silence. No cameras, no talking, just the sweet sound of still serenity from Mother Nature. It's a quiet unlike anything I've experienced while staring over a landscape I've never seen before in person. I don't often get emotional in nature, but I gotta admit, I got a little verklempt. But what hits me even more is the incredible fortune I have to visit a place like Greenland, to meet people like Henny, Nive, Niels, and Klaus, and see this country beyond the headlines. Greenland isn't just some geopolitical prize, it's a place where real people live, navigating between reclaiming and maintaining their traditions in the face of unwanted global attention and a changing climate. Greenland is more than a headline. It's our canary in the coal mine. Before I go, I wanted to say thank you to Visit Greenland for inviting me on this trip, and thank you to my new friend Malte for that epic drone footage. Now, if you enjoyed this video and want to check out more of my travels from around the world, check out this playlist right over here. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you next week.